Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad Sunday Lectures, brought to you by the Nation of Islam, Muhammad's Temple, Unite.
My name is Brother Minister Wali Muhammad. I am your minister for this evening out of Central Texas. And I would like to thank everyone for your attendance today. I am, like I said, I'm your minister, and I'm also a student and follower of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the last and greatest messenger of Allah. Again, we'd like to thank you for your attendance here. And as we always do, we begin our meetings with our opening prayer. So if you would stand and let us open with our prayer. Surely I have turned myself to thee, O Allah, trying to be upright, to he who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheist. Surely my prayer and my sacrifice, my life and my death is all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this am I commanded. I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protections against faults but thou. And guide me into the best of morals, for none could guide to the best of morals but thou. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none could turn away from me the evil and indecent morals but thou. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and the followers of Muhammad successful, as thou did make Abraham and the followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praised and magnified. O Allah, bless Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad, as thou did bless Abraham and the followers of Abraham. For surely thou art praised and magnified in our midst. Amen. Excuse me. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful Savior. I can never give enough thanks and praise to Almighty God Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever. We thank Allah for his raising of his last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. To Allah and his messenger do I submit, as I greet you once again in the ancient words of peace and paradise of As-salam alaikum. All right, brothers and sisters, I said I will come back to you with the subject that was intended for last Sunday lectures, Muhammad Sunday lectures, which is what Islam has done for me. But before we get into that, I would like to thank all of our guests for tuning in. We did get some response. I asked you to reach out, let us know you're out there. We did get some response from a few people letting us know they was out there. We thank you for that. And we hope that many more are tuning in this Sunday. And I hope you spread the word about these Sunday lectures that we're giving, and that you see the significance of these lectures and of the teachings, the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we call it life-giving for a particular reason, because it gives life to the dead. And we're talking about the mentally and spiritually dead, not the physically dead, but the mental and spiritual. So we thank all of you for joining today. Those of you who have returned to view, those of you who have subscribed to our channel, we thank you. Also, like to give thanks to all the believers out there, all the followers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Allah and His Messenger. Those who are in my immediate circle, I'd like to thank them. All the brothers out there in different areas within the country. We have temples out there and ministers out there who are doing the hard work, same as we. I like to acknowledge the brothers and sisters out there in Philadelphia, Minister Mutaqwan Ali, and the believers out there. I also like to acknowledge the believers out there in Cleveland, Ohio, Brother Minister Clarence Shabazz out there in Cleveland, and the believers there with him. I'd like to send the greetings out to you, brothers and sisters. Salaam alaikum. The believers out there in Detroit under Minister Omar, and the believers out there. We're going to have our Savior's Day in Detroit this year. We like to come together in unity for Savior's Day. I know some of you have Savior's Day in your local area, and that's fine, but it's even better when you come together with your brothers and sisters in one location. You know how they used to do during the time of the messenger. Everyone would go to Chicago or wherever, and all come there and show that brotherly and sisterly love, that unity, and that builds up the spirit. You're getting to see brothers and sisters who you may have never met before, and build relationships. I can go to many different cities in this country, and there will be a believer there that's ready to welcome me to their city. The last time I went to Cleveland, Ohio, man, they rolled out the red carpet for us. We that's how we feel about one another, especially when we, have that knowledge of self and that self-love. When we see one who is of like mind, we welcome them. I had a great time in Cleveland, Ohio. The believers there took us on a tour. We went to different places, good restaurants, Salam's restaurant there. I'm telling you, the food was great. And they made us feel at home. I didn't feel uncomfortable at any time. So I would like to, acknowledge the brothers and sisters there. I can't wait to go back. So, and all the other believers out there that I haven't mentioned, I would like to send the greetings to the believers out there in California. Brother Minister Salam out there. I think he's had to evacuate his home out there in the area because of those fires going on. So I I send the greetings, and I pray Allah that him and his family is doing well. All the believers there as well. So our subject is what Islam has done for me. This is it's a very important subject in the Nation of Islam. And as I was mentioning before, it's like a testimony of someone bearing witness to what Islam has done for them. And you don't have to be a minister. I remember in my temple in San Antonio under Minister Bashir Muhammad, he would call up the believers, and we would stand before the podium, and we would tell what Islam has done for us. You know, the sisters would get up there and say what Islam has done for them, the brothers. And it was good to hear, you know, other believers talk about what Islam has done for them. You know, and it was always good and positive things. You know, I hear many say how Islam has saved their lives, how Islam has changed their lives, you know. And I'm sure in any religious denomination, you know, you go in any church or any synagogue or whatever, and you have the members of that religion give their testimony, I'm sure they're going to say great things. But Islam, as taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, there's a significant difference, very significant difference in how that Islam changes someone's life, especially the Black man and woman in America. All right. And that's, you know, mainly who I'm talking to. I'm talking to my people, the Black man and woman here in America. But Islam is beneficial to everyone in the world. So that I can get into this lecture and not have to continue it another day, I'll go ahead and get into today's subject, which is what Islam has done for me. This is a very personal testimony because I'm talking about what Islam has done for me. But I also want you to understand that what Islam has done for me, it can also do for you, and so much more. You know, we have those basic fundamentals of those beliefs and practices, but there are some things that is personalized to each and every individual, each and every believer, you know, because we're different. We all have different situations. We all, you know, think differently, act differently, have different things going on in our life and in our world. So not only is Islam beneficial to the masses or to the group, but it's also beneficial for you as an individual, right? So when we talk about what Islam has done for me, I'm giving you my personal testimony, but I also want you to learn from that personal testimony so that you can see the power of Islam, how life-changing it is. So the first thing I want to talk about that Islam has done for me, it has given me purpose. Purpose. What is purpose? The definition reads, a meaningful reason to live, right? Let me stress that. A meaningful reason to live. Excuse me, let me grab this marker real quick. I hope it still writes. Let me see. Yeah, it still right. Purpose, right? You know, like I said, normally when we give in our testimony, you know, we just get up there and have an intimate, you know, conversation, or you know, just a intimate testimony, just bearing witness, and that's usually how I deliver that lecture. Not lecture. I don't even want to call it a lecture. It's just a testimony. That's how I like to deliver that testimony, so that you can see, you know, the compassion that runs through my spirit when I'm talking about what Islam has done for me. So if I'm in this setting where I'm teaching it, you may not get that compassion, but that's not my objective today. My objective is to show you the power of Islam and what it can do for you, right? So it has given me a purpose. And again, purpose is a meaningful reason to live, right? You know, there's a saying out there, they say, you might be alive, but you may not be living, right? And that's what this is saying, a meaningful reason to live. You're not just living, you have a meaning to live. There's a reason. And a lot of us like to would say, I live for my family, right? Or you may say, I live for my career. Excuse me. And we have examples of that. You know, you may have, you may have a brother or sister, and they spend their entire life focused on their career or their job. You know, that's their reason for living. You know, some people are fully devoted to their career or their jobs. You know, when they're not at their job, they're making preparations for their job. Some people take their work home. Some people don't punch in or punch out. You know, their work is intertwined into their personal life. I know many of you understand what I'm saying. There's no turn off switch. You may be sitting at home eating dinner with your family and your phone rings and you got to get up from the table and take that call, right? Or you may have to leave. Think about those in that medical profession where there may be an emergency situation. It don't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you got to get up out that bed and go to work. And some of us have a deep passion for it. It's not that you hate that work. You may love your work. And you're constantly engaged in your work or your career. Right? And then you have some who say, I live for my family. You know, think about the what you call them, the housewives. You know, Those are the best examples because they live for their family. You know, when they get those children off to school, you know, they make the preparations the night before, getting their clothes together, or in the morning, getting them ready for school, checking over homework assignments and what have you at night. They get them off to school, drop them off to school. And then when they come back home, they are cleaning the home, washing the clothes and so forth, which is for the family, right? And then when the children get out of school, they pick them up, they bring them home, they send their husband off to work, making sure he's straight. You know, they may go spend lunch with the husband. And then when the children come home, they, you know, feed them and check over the work and ask them how the day was going. Their whole day in and day out, is consumed with the family. They have very little time for themselves. So that's why they say, I live for my family. Right? And there's many other things, you know, but Islam giving me a purpose, a meaningful reason to live, and family is one of those. But see, the thing is, you know, you don't have to be in Islam to have family, of course. You know, you don't have to be in any religion at all. And you can have family, and that can be your meaningful reason to live. But Islam has given me direction and guidance in order to live for my family. You understand? That's a difference. You know, a sense of direction and guidance. That's what we all need. We know that there's no manual to tell you how to raise your family. Each family is customized. if you would allow me to use that word, each family is customized. But we all, most of us, seek to God, Allah, whatever you may call your God, for guidance and understanding on, in a general sense, on how to raise your family. Islam has given me that direction. In this world that we live in, see, that's first and foremost, we have to have an understanding of the world that we live in order to receive proper guidance and direction on how we move throughout this world. We have to understand the world. I can't sit down at a chessboard if I don't know the rules of the game, right? I wouldn't know how to play. I wouldn't even know how to begin. And I'm trying to figure it out, but I'm not very successful because I haven't got a true understanding of the game. So we look at that as the world we live in. We must have a proper understanding of it before we can begin to navigate through this world. Pardon me. So understanding the world we live in. If you were raised, not if you were raised in this society, this world that we live in, born into it, and this is all you know. You don't know of any other way of life. All you know is of this particular society and this way of life. So if you're born into it, you're going to adapt to this society, this this culture, you know. And we as human beings, we are very adaptive people. We can adapt to almost any situation. If we were raised in Alaska amongst Eskimos, we would adapt to that culture, that way of life. It would, and without knowing this civilization and way of life, you wouldn't feel miserable or know what you're missing because that is all that you know. You understand what I'm saying? If you was dropped off in the middle, if you was born in the middle of the jungle and you was born and raised in that environment, this would be all that you know, right? And you would adapt to that. You wouldn't be so-called miserable thinking about there's a better life because this is the only life you know. And that life may be a savage life. You may have to hunt down and kill your every meal. You may eat food raw. You may, live out, in the jungle. You may barely have any clothing on. I'm talking about a savage way of life. But you would adapt to that because that's our nature. You will survive. But what if someone comes along from a different way of life, from a different civilization, and try to teach you about the environment and the way of life that you're in, showing you that there is a better way? But some of us will become so consumed in that way of life, to whereas we don't want no other way of life. We don't want anything better because we have become so comfortable with this way of life. See, I'm saying all of this to get you to understand what Islam has done for me. Islam has shown me a better way of life. It has first given me the reality of the world that I'm living in. Because if it didn't do that, I wouldn't put it down if I didn't know that it wasn't good for me. See, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Islam comes after everything else has failed. It comes last. Because we try everything else. And the reason why it comes is because it wants you to appreciate it. You won't appreciate being rich if you was always rich. But if you was poor, struggling and out of doors, and then you came into some wealth that helped improve your way of life, you would appreciate it a little more, right? Because you came from nothing. You know what it's like to have been broke, to be poor, to not know where your next meal is coming from. But when you come into a better way of life, you tend to appreciate it better. So Islam has opened my eyes to the reality of the world that I was living in. And it showed me something better. I'm going to try not to get ahead of myself. So in that, accepting something better and rejecting the world that I had came out of, now when I have my family, I have to raise my family in that direction. Easier said than done. because you come out of that old world. You know it firsthand because you lived it, right? And then when you were shown of it and you rejected it and accepted Islam, something better, you made that transition. Just like from going poor to wealthy, or out of doors, or now you have something of your own. But when it comes to your family, mainly your children are born into this new way of life that you have accepted. Now you want to share that with them. You don't want to share the old world with them. You'll tell them about it, teach them about it so they don't try to go into that world, because there's so many temptations out there. And then you see the rest of the world indulging in that old world. And then, you know, they make it seem good. You know, they say ignorance is bliss. They live in a blissful life out there in the old world, or in the world that we see out there today, society today. And you see people with nice homes, nice cars, you know, partying, celebrating, living the good life. You see it. But history has taught us that those great nations that was mighty and powerful, rich, wealthy, that they were not of God. And before their destruction came, these great and powerful nations of the past, they were in celebration before destruction fell on them. Look it up. Read the scriptures. They were celebrating. They was at the peak of their power and dominance in the world, at their peak, before Allah came to destroy it. So with my family born into Islam, you as a parent, you try to teach them the blessings and benefits of Islam. You try to instill into them the direction in which Allah is guiding us, and to stay away from that old world, because that old world is going out and you'll go out with it. So that is the direction in which I try to raise and guide my family, which is different. See, these other religions, they are part of society. They may have their particulars as it relates to their worship of God, but they are integrated into the society. We as Muslims and followers of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we try to separate ourselves from this society. That's why you don't see us celebrating these holidays, so-called holidays. That's why you don't find us out in the clubs having sociable drinks. You don't find us at the Christmas parties at the office. You don't find us at these big events. Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to stay away from these large gatherings. these events, part of the celebrations. You understand? We try to stay away from that because history has taught us best. So, purpose, family. It's also giving me a sense of community. See, the family is the more personal side, you know, but we're talking about community. We have a Muslim community here in America. That community consists of believers and followers of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, establishing certain things inside of the community. Whereas we may have a place of worship called the Temple of Islam. We have strived to create businesses, restaurants, grocery stores, purchase land for agriculture, produce schools to teach our own. See, this is us coming up out of that old world. We're not trying to integrate with it. We're trying to separate and establish our own community. And in some places, it's more prevalent than others. Like you may see in places like Detroit, in New York, in Chicago, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, where the Muslim community is greater, more condensed, and you'll see a greater reflection of the community, the Muslim community. You can go on the side of town and say, well, that's the Muslim community. Just like you can go in some areas and see the Asian community. You can see the Arab community. And they're producing things that's based on their way of life and their culture. So as we, the Nation of Islam. So that's part of one of my purposes is that meaningful life is my Muslim community. And I try to stay in contact with my Muslim brothers and sisters, support our businesses, and continue to work on building up that community. So let me write that down. Community. And the next thing I want to write down is nation. As you see, we refer to ourselves as the Nation of Islam, right? We're Muslims, and there's Muslims all over the world. But the black man and black woman here in America, we are the Nation of Islam. And the reason why we say we are the Nation of Islam, because it comes with our birthright. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the black man is the original man, right? The original man, meaning that we were the first. And all other nations and races have come from us. There had to be a beginning. And it just so happens that we are the beginning. And this is nothing that we're being boastful about. It's just an actual fact. And In God, whose proper name is Allah, in his self creation, Islam was born. Islam is our nature, our natural selves. So in God's manifestation, Islam was also manifested. So it is our nature. And from us, from God, we were all created. So that's why we, the original black man and black woman, we are the nation that was first, the nation of Islam. Islam is a way of life. It's not technically a religion. A religion is a belief in God, right? A belief system. Islam is not based on belief. Islam is based on actual facts, which is measured by science and mathematics, right? To determine if something, if you have something that is like a hypothesis or just an idea, a theory, to prove that theory to be a fact, you have to either use mathematics or you have to use science to determine if whatever theory or hypothesis you may have concluded, if it's to be true, to be a fact, you have to use mathematics or science. Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. So we don't base our system on belief. We base it on facts. Islam is a way of life. It's a culture in which we live our lives. We are the nation of Islam. Not until the coming of Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and the raising up of his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we didn't have a nation. We were not a nation. We were a people who belonged to another. We didn't have a land of our own. We didn't have a culture of our own. We didn't have a religion or a way of life of our own. We didn't have a land of our own. We didn't even own ourselves. So not until the coming of Allah and the raising of his messenger did we have something to call our own. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us who we were. He had given us an identity. All right? He told us who we were as a people, as a nation. He raised us up into a knowledge of our history, of our past. He taught us who our God was. He taught us who the devil was. He taught us what our original language was. And he taught us our original names. All of this was taken from us. All of this was stripped from us to destroy our nation and make us less than. So we thank Allah for coming and raising up his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and giving us a nation. Every nation has a flag, right? He gave us a flag. And this flag is just a symbol. It's a symbol. The red represents the sun, and then you have the moon and the star. This is a symbol of the actual sun, moon, and stars. And Allah came and said, this belongs to you, black man and woman. The sun, moon, and stars, they are submissive to you. They are subservient to you. Not you to it. They were created for you, to serve you. You have some people who worship the sun, who worship the moon and stars. No, we do not worship those things. Those things belong to us. And everything beneath it, everything that the light of the sun touches belongs to us, the black man and woman in America. So says Allah. He made us a nation, and not a nation of a particular land or country. No, no. Allah has taught us that the earth, this planet, belongs to us. Not a piece of land, but the entire earth itself. So, purpose, community, and nation, something we never had before. Not a true purpose, not a true community, and not a true nation. But we have that today. The question is, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to continue to stay here in the land in which we were enslaved and integrate with this nation, a nation within a nation? Or do we want to have our own land, our own government, controlling our own laws and government, not having to fight to get justice, not having to fight to get freedom or equality? It's not yours if you have to fight for these things. What Islam has done for me, that's big. That's big. Islam has given me purpose, a great purpose, a meaningful reason to live. Islam has also given me culture. Culture. What is culture? Culture is a way of life. Islam, as I said before, Islam is a way of life. Culture, right? It's not a religion. It's a way of life. Look at the American culture. Mm. You see, I immediately start shaking my head. SMH, the American culture, so against God and righteousness. They knew that from the very beginning. That's why when they instituted the Constitution, they wanted to make sure that they separated state from church. Excuse me. In Islam, we don't separate God from anything. He's a part of everything. So why would you want to separate state from church? You're actually saying you want to keep God out of state business. No, that's not how we would govern our nation. God would be the chief and commander. He would be the head of the state. That's why this way of life is so corrupt, because they wanted to keep God out of it. That's how come they can institute all these sinful ways into this government, allowing men to marry men and women to marry women. How disgusting is that? You know? So Islam has given me culture, a way of life. And what is that culture? That culture is submission to the will of Allah. Right? Submission to the will of Allah. Right? Pardon my handwriting. Submit to Allah, submission to the will of Allah. That's why I say, how can you have a government without including God? Submission to the will of Allah, as I said once before, is better for you than submitting to your own will, your own desires. Because Allah has our best interests at heart. He wants you to submit to your own true nature, which is righteousness. That is part of our culture. That is what we identify ourselves as, Muslims. One who submits to the will of God. That's what Muslim means. We are Muslims. That is part of our culture. Practicing righteousness. Practice righteousness. I don't know if I spelled it right. I might have got too many letters in there. Practicing righteousness. Right? While we're here in America and this civilization is still in existence, we have to strive to be upright, because temptation is at every corner and in between those corners. And most of us have come out of that world. trying to shake that mud off us. It's like someone who's been smoking all their lives. And when you put down that cigarette and you stay away from it, that desire, that temptation rises up every now and again. But it's your practice of doing right by yourself is what keeps you away from that, going back to that, right? So we must practice righteousness here in America. Because practicing righteousness and keeping up prayer and being in company of others practicing righteousness, will help us sustain from that old world, that old way of life, of sin. I'm thankful to Allah every time I'm in company of my believers, of my brothers and sisters in Islam, constantly. I take that back, not constantly, but quite often. Quite often. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that steel sharpens steel. You have to be in the company of your brothers and sisters to become better, to stay strong. Because I went through times where I wasn't in the company of other Muslim brothers and sisters. Those were some of my weakest, darkest moments. Because I didn't have that Muslim community. I was just practicing Islam in my home with my family. But we need more than that. And I'm talking to you, those of you who are presently in that situation to where you're not in contact with your Muslim community. You just practicing Islam at home with your family. I know about that. It would be best that you come up out of that. Some of you have went that direction intentionally because you don't like what has become of the nation since the passing of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. When our great leader passed, it's like the shepherd leaving the sheep out in the pasture with no guidance. And they all begin to scatter, go in different directions. That's what happened. Started going different directions. But I highly encourage you, even though some of us have strayed farther away than others, find those of you who is closest to your like mind, your beliefs, what you know to be true. Those that haven't strayed too far away. Some of us are still in that same pasture, waiting, have come together to maintain ourselves. And we still hear the voice of the shepherd because he left behind some work. See, being that the shepherd isn't here, we still hear his voice through his books, through his lectures. And when you hear one of your fellow brothers or sisters speaking, and you hear the shepherd's voice, then you know they're closer. They didn't stray too far away. So you should find a way to connect with your brothers and sisters. And I'm gonna tell you now, it's not gonna be perfect. There is no body out here, nobody that's perfect besides Allah. No one. So if you're looking for flaws, if you're looking for imperfection, I guarantee you're gonna find it. You're gonna find it if that's what you're looking for. But if you're looking for unity, if you're looking for brotherhood and sisterhood, you're gonna have to use your common sense. You're gonna have to use that scale to balance it out. You're gonna make sure that that part that's not perfect doesn't go against your core principle beliefs or your core practices. There are some things, some rough edges that can be smoothed out with any group or organization. But as long as the core is intact, the principle beliefs is intact, and practices are intact, you got a strong foundation to work on. And maybe you can come in to help smooth out some of those rough edges. You with us, the brothers and sisters who I'm in unity with in this particular circle, in the Nation of Islam. We seek our brothers and sisters to help build our nation. Every brother that's in my immediate circle, they all have a particular role that they play, a particular part in helping to build this nation. Nobody is on the sidelines. Islam is a working man's religion, as they say. So you come join on with us. Put on your working boots, your working gloves, because we got a lot of work to do. So practice righteousness. That's another part of our culture. And the last thing I want to put, and these are just a few things. I'm sure, if you think of other things, send it in, send it in the chat, some other things, and we'll be sure to discuss that. But the last thing I want to put, which is part of our culture, is the making of peace. Making of peace. Islam means peace. That's part of our culture. We're not the hell raisers. We're the peacemakers. That's one of the many blessings of Allah is peace. That's what we need today. We need peace. And that's what Allah has come to bring us, peace. He brought it to us, Islam. Islam. Freedom, justice, equality. Islam means peace. Islam comes after everything else fails. This has failed us. What did Christianity in America give us? Slavery, suffering, and death. Islam comes after that has failed us, of course, and brings us peace. No more protesting. No more marching on the Capitol. No more riots in the streets. No more injustice of the judicial system. No more prisons for our brothers and sisters. Is that hard to imagine? See where we at. Up. Over the hour a little bit. Please bear with me. We don't have much longer. Now, the last thing I didn't spend a lot of time on peace, but peace is heaven. Heaven on earth. Peace. That's our greeting when we meet you. We say assalamu alaikum. That means peace be upon you. We're wishing you peace. We're making peace. We come to you extending peace from Allah. Assalamu alaikum. And then the other brother or sister returns that greeting back to you. Wa alaikum salam. Peace be unto you, brother, sister. We wishing each other peace. That's how you start off an interaction from the start. I wish you peace. Peace of mind. A piece of money. Now I'm playing about the piece of money, but that brings peace. Money, homes, friendship in all walks of life. That's what Allah promises us. Right? If you find a Muslim believer that's constantly struggling, Allah promised us money, homes, friendship, and all walks of life. Not in the hereafter. He promised us that now. So if you're not getting some of that now, then we might need to reevaluate. He has taught us how to do for self. That's how you go get some of that. Money and homes. Do for self. Because if you keep going to the enemy of our people, looking for money and homes and all of that, wealth, they're not going to give you that. That'll give you a sense of independence. When you're working these jobs, they're only going to pay you enough to keep working. Not to come up and leave their job and start your own business. No, that wouldn't be to their best interest. So they're going to pay you just enough to maintain your living situation so that you can be to work tomorrow. And then when they get competitive, they raise it up a little bit so you can feel like you have some value there. Now you got a nice car, you got a nice home, but you're still dependent. Because even though you can obtain those things, it's about maintaining those things. So go and make yourself some peace. Join on to your own. Accept Islam. And start doing for self. And then you can not only pull yourself up, you can pull your brother or your sister up. You can pull them up by even showing them an example. Showing them an example of how you can become independent, creating jobs and opportunities for your own. That's what everybody else is doing. We're the only ones seeking jobs. You got people who come here to this country, and in a matter of a few years, they're hiring each other. Look at the Hispanics that come over here. They'll pool their resources. They'll all pack into one house until everybody got their own house. Until everybody got their own house. See? Better look and learn. The making of peace. So the last thing I want to put, as far as what Islam has done for me, Islam, and this is, I ain't gonna say it's the most important, but it's very important. Islam has given me a sense of identity. Identity. What does it say? A fact of being who God intended for me to be. I didn't have that before I accepted Islam. My identity was, I guess I did have an identity, but it wasn't my true identity. My identity was given to me by the slave master. That slave master said, "You are a Negro. You are an African American. You are a nigger." Right? That's what they said. Your religion. I didn't choose the religion. It was given to me. It was given to my people, my family. Your religion will be Christianity. Christianity. And here's the God of your religion. He looks like me. He's white, blonde hair, blue eyes. He don't look nothing like you. Matter of fact, none of the people associated with him looks anything like you. All the prophets, the apostles, and everybody at the Last Supper, you wasn't there. He said that here's your name. Your name, I'm going to let you wear my name. You wear my name to show that you belong to me. That's what your name identifies you as. Belonging. When we were sold on those auction blocks in America, when you were sold to Mr. Green, your name became Green, showing ownership that you belong to Mr. Green. Here's your language. English. I know you're not an Englishman, but this will be your language. He gave us our identity. He erased our minds and put his mind in our mind. Islam has given me a new identity. It is of the old before we were made slaves. And he has given me a new identity as well, which was never known before. Who am I? Who am I? What Islam has done for me. Who am I? That's what identity means. Who am I? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us in our student enrollment. The first question is, who is the original man? He's teaching us right away who we are. He's giving us identity right away. Who is the original man? The answer is the original man is the Asiatic black man. Not the African American black man, not the Negro black man, not the American black man, not even the African black man. He identified us as the Asiatic black man. Who is the Asiatic black man? He said the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. I know that's a hard pill to swallow. That's a big pill. That's a big pill. That pill's so big that we got to chop it up for you one Sunday. Just that alone, who is the original man? That's a subject. So my identity is that I am of the original man. I didn't know that. I didn't know that before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that to us. He said, you are the original man. The Asiatic black man. Where did that come from? I thought I was African. The Asiatic black man. He taught us that we call this planet Asia, not Earth. So we're not Earthlings, we're Asiatics. Because we call the planet Asia. Think about it. Look at history, and it teaches you about Asia, East Asia, West Asia, the landmass where they had to identify different parts, and they was defined as East Asia, West Asia, North Asia, South Asia. The Asiatic black man. Identity. He said, you are Muslims by nature. One who submits to the will of God by nature. You need to start practicing your nature. You need to come out of this way of life of following and worshiping the devil and identify with your true nature, which is Islam, and submit to the God of Islam. Being a Muslim, upright, identity. This is who I define myself as. I am an Asiatic black man. I am a righteous Muslim. I take back my culture, which is Islam. I take back my original name. My mother didn't name me Wali Muhammad. Allah said, here is your names. You have 99 attributes, names that identify your characteristic, your natural traits. All of these names have meanings. Pick the ones that best defines you and try to uphold that name. Your language is Islam, Arabic. I meant to say, your language is Arabic. Practice on speaking that language. Here's some principles of Islam. Follow these principles. Keep up prayer. Give charity. So, my identity I'm a righteous Muslim. My identity Asiatic, black man, not a Negro, not an African American. I'm an Asiatic black man. Who are you, brother, sister? And lastly, as I come near my conclusion, how long we been at this? Oh, we going on an hour and a half. It's okay. It's okay. My identity, a righteous Muslim, an Asiatic black man. God of the universe. Let me underline it, because it ain't bold if you don't underline it. Now, it's bold now. Huh? My identity. And remember, my personal testimony is a bearing of witness of what Islam could do for you. That's why I'm delivering it in this manner today. I'm giving you my personal testimony, but I'm giving it to you as a subject matter so that you can learn from it, to know what Islam could do for you. My identity is a righteous Muslim, an Asiatic black man, God of the universe. That's a God of the universe. What does that mean? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said the black man is the original man, the first man. Not the first man on the planet, but the first man in the universe. I want that to kind of marinate in your head a little bit. The first man in the universe. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us that there's life beyond the earth. Life forms, life. But out of all the life outside of this planet, this Asiatic black man is the supreme life form. Supreme, meaning the best, So don't take it as a boastful way. It's an actual fact. This can be proven in a limit of time. Allah has already did the research. He's already searched the universe for any other life form that exists beyond his supremacy. Life began with Allah. You hear me? Life began with Allah. Creation began with Allah. This is how he knows. He's the originator of the heavens and the earth. And wouldn't the originator, the one who made these things, know it best? That's why he's teaching us, because we are the rightful owners. So this supreme wisdom has to be passed down, inherited by us, the black man and woman in America, because God has promised the world and the universe to us. So he's teaching us about it. He said, you are the gods. You come directly from me, my creation. God of the universe. I ask you, brothers and sisters, to continue to join on to these Sunday lectures. Even more importantly, join on to your own. Reclaim your own, which is the Nation of Islam. I hope I made that clear in this presentation, that I'm talking to every black man and woman in America, letting you know that this is not exclusive to me. This is what Islam can do for us. So in my conclusion, because we're right at about an hour and a half. In my conclusion, Islam, it is a must that we accept Islam. There is no many different paths to God. There's only one straight and narrow path. It's not even wide, it's narrow. So we ask you to pay it some mind, if not all of your mind. Study it, examine it. We don't want you to accept anything without a proper understanding. So for the sake of time, brothers and sisters, I conclude our meeting this evening as I greet you in the Arabic words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. Now, as we always do, we close out our meeting in prayer. So I ask you to please stand for our closing prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. The Beneficent, the most merciful, master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and thee alone do we beseech for aid. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favors, not along the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they have heard thy teachings. Say, He, Allah, is one God. Allah is He of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He neither begets, nor is He begotten, and there's none like Him. And I bear witness that none or nothing deserves to be served or worshipped besides Allah. And I bear witness that the most honorable, Elijah Muhammad, is our last and greatest messenger to we, the lost found Muslims here in the wilderness of North America. Amen. Assalamu alaikum.
If you believe what you heard taught today on Islam is true, and you would like to learn more or you are ready to accept and reclaim your own, contact the Lost Found Nation of Islam Muhammad's Temple United at 623-312-4352. Again, that's 623-312-4352. We thank you for joining us today, and we ask that you return next Sunday and invite your family and friends.
The Lost and Found Nation of Islam, Muhammad's Temple United, is seeking to unite with all of the believers in temples across the country. If you are a member or a part of a temple, or if you have a temple, contact us and let us unite one nation under one way of life. Islam is taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The time is now, black man and woman. Your nation awaits you. Assalamu alaikum.